Hi there, and welcome to Upcycled Adulting, my YouTube channel where I help you upcycle your real life into your best life. My name is Cassie Feld. I'm an intentional living coach and the founder and CEO of Upcycled Adulting. I help busy people find their authentic selves and build the intentional lives of their dreams. And today we're going to be talking about 7 very simple activities that will help you connect with or reconnect with your authentic self. Now, listen, I have a lot of experience in this area and I have tried almost everything. As the busy mom of 5 kids, including 2 special needs kids, with a husband who has worked out of our home for most of our marriage as we ran 2 very successful businesses, I happen to know a thing or two about feeling like you've lost yourself, struggling to find yourself, and struggling to walk aligned with your authenticity. And so today I want to share 7, yes, 7 activities that you can include in your daily life. Now, pick and choose the ones that make the most sense for you, but I have to tell you, number 6 will probably surprise you, and number 7 is by far the easiest and most powerful activity I have ever used for this purpose. So let's go ahead and get started. Number 1, of course, is journaling. Now, listen, if you haven't subscribed yet, this is a great time to subscribe. I'm going to be talking extensively about journaling, the type of journaling you want to be doing, what compound journaling is, and how to actually use that so that you can more quickly and easily drill in to your authentic self. But when I talk about journaling, just to summarize here, I'm not talking about venting in your journal about the bad day you had. Listen, that is absolutely essential for getting all of those uncomfortable feelings out and processing things. But I am actually talking about a very specific kind of journaling that is committed to helping you walk in your authenticity and also helping you grow as a person. So we're going to dig really deep into that in the next video because it's quite a big and weighty topic. But for here and now, what I do want to say is that this type of journaling involves journal prompts and really thinking about who you are and what you need and what you want. Now, those questions are way too big. So you're going to want to start with some smaller prompts. If you're looking for journal prompts for authenticity or to discover your true self, please make sure that you check out my blog post and you will find 31 journal prompts that will help you in this process. But do not miss that next video where I'm going to talk about how to compound the benefits of using those journal prompts. Number 2 is meditation. Now, listen, most people try meditation and they go about it in the wrong way. If you're trying to meditate for 5 minutes a day, I have to tell you, you are setting yourself up for failure. Unless you have been meditating for quite some time, 5 minutes is a lot of time spent meditating. Just spending 30 seconds to a minute in your own space, quiet with yourself, can make all the difference in the world. Just set a timer and go ahead and take those breaths. Be mindful of your breaths. And as thoughts come, rather than trying to fight them, just release them, observe them, and let them go. It can be really helpful after we're done meditating to kind of jot down what kind of thoughts we were having there. Now, if remembering those thoughts is hard for you, or you sit down with your journal afterward and you're like, tomorrow when I meditate, I'm going to have to try to remember what thoughts popped into my head. Do not do that. We don't want to try to hold them. But a lot of times I know that when I meditate, I tend to have thoughts pop into my head about other things I should be doing with my time, right? You should do some laundry. You need to make a grocery list. Why haven't you done this for work? Those are the kinds of thoughts that tend to pop in my head when I am meditating. And my awareness of this has increased my awareness that as a person, I tend to struggle with simply being. That busyness and noise is very, very disruptive to me being able to really hone in and show up as my authentic self. I tend to keep a lot of checklists going of behaving right and doing the right thing and getting things done. And I think most of us do. And being aware of that has really helped me to clear out some of the things that are going on in my mind. And it's helped me to create strategies to clear my mind. Things like keeping a really good schedule and to do list and delegating better and understanding that I don't need to carry it all. It's helped me create mantras to support myself and so much more. So, really understanding that meditation doesn't have to take an extended period of time and that you will have intrusive thoughts. That's okay. And they can even be clues to things that throw you off balance or out of alignment. And that is really important in your journey. So don't fight it. Don't be upset with yourself about it. Understand that it is a part of the process of learning about yourself. Number three, I almost skipped to four, y'all. Number three is movement. Now, when we are moving our bodies, it tends to help clear our head and it tends to help reconnect us into our bodies. It's very important to understand that your body is simply the shell for the person that you are. What you look like has nothing to do with who you authentically are. And somehow, when we move our bodies, we separate ourselves a little bit from our preoccupation with our physical tasks, our physical demands in our lives. When we move our bodies, we get so occupied with the movement, so distracted by the movement that we oftentimes are able to let go of a lot of the shoulds and a lot of the to-dos. One of the things that can be most beneficial when we're trying to move our body for the purpose of drilling into our authenticity is compound movements. Things like dancing or kickboxing are really, really helpful to keep your mind occupied in a different way. Now, if you do this movement and then you journal, you do this movement and then you meditate, for example, what will happen is the movement itself basically cleared your head because you were thinking too much about the movement, right? And because of that, you'll see a lot more clarity in your meditation or in your journaling. You won't have as many distractions or distracting thoughts because those have been shelved due to your attention on your body movement. Now, number four, and listen, this can be paired with any of the other things, which is part of what makes number four, in my opinion, so magical, is because it's so easy. All right, ready for it? Get out in nature. Go outside. Go outside. Authentically human beings are not intended to live in boxes. We're not intended to spend our lives in these boxes, right? We're intended to have shelter for safety purposes, but we are not intended to live inside those four walls. Authentically within us, we are actually meant to be outside. Now, I know some of you may be like me, and I struggle a lot with the outside thing because I have some sensory challenges related to temperature and humidity, and I'm very, very sensitive to these things. But hear me out here. One of the important things about being outside is that it helps you increase creativity and increase productivity. And it does that by removing a lot of distracting external stimuli. It helps you to reconnect with your more natural state. And when your brain experiences that, it is able to open up and it is able to really connect with you, with your deeper purpose, with your deeper, more authentic self. So take yourself outside. You can go outside and meditate. You can go outside and have your dance party out there. You can go outside with your journal and a cup of coffee. Just get yourself outside. We need that sun. We need that fresh air. We need to be in nature. The less distraction, the better. Really, the less distraction, the better. I know some of us spend a lot of time outside, but we spend a lot of time outside highly distracted by things like listening to podcasts and stuff like that. That's not what I mean. Just get yourself outside. It's fine if you're gardening, it's fine if you're doing something. Get yourself outside and disconnected from the screens and other people's voices telling you what you should be doing or telling you what life needs to be like or whatever it is that you tend to ingest. Because whether we mean to or not, a lot of what we listen to is actually doing that. As an interesting thing about being outside and what that does, I think it's really important right now to point out that they have done extensive studies in the Netherlands about gardening and being outside and how that impacts dementia and Alzheimer's. And what they've actually found is significant improvement in Alzheimer's and dementia from being outside, better than even any medication. And that's really interesting because to me, that gives us some insight into how just being in nature, just digging in the dirt can really reconnect ourselves to ourselves, our memories, our passions, our loves, all of those things. And that is vitally important. And number five, now listen, number five isn't necessarily going to be for everyone. And so if this isn't for you, that's okay. I want you to just cross it right off your list of notes that you're taking right now. Number five is to create. And what I mean by create is to do something creative, whether it's cooking or art or sculpture or whatever it is. Do something creative without a pattern, without an end result in mind. Now, for some of us, this can be challenging because we need to know what that end product is going to be. And for some of us, this can be challenging because the creative process is associated with a lot of shame, meaning that we're not super creative people or we're not super artistic people. We're not very crafty. And we have tried to do that in the past and felt shamed or embarrassed by the product that we created, right? We felt like it should look like this and it doesn't. And something is wrong with that. If that is you, you may actually have a barrier to fluid creativity, meaning the ability to just sit down and tinker with something and make something. All right. But if you are a person who does not struggle with that, this is a great tactile way to connect yourself with your authenticity, to see what kinds of things you create, what kinds of things inspire you, what kinds of things are of interest to you. In addition, because we now know that some people think in words and some people think in pictures, creating can be a great alternative to journaling, especially if you are more of a picture thinker. Rather than writing a journal entry based on that prompt, what if you drew a picture? What if you did something a little bit more creative? What if you photographed something that helped you feel more connected to that prompt or that to you defined what that prompt brought up in you? This is a very, very good way to think of alternative ways to work through some of the unique ways that you process things, that you function. And remember that whenever we're trying to reconnect with or stay in the space with our authentic selves, we need to create the ability to express ourselves in ways that are also authentic to us, that also connect with us. And that's why having so many different activities as options is so incredibly important. Because for one of us, journaling might be extremely effective, but for another, it may be movement or it might be creating something. Those things might just resonate better with your authentic self. There's nothing wrong with journaling not helping. Okay. If that's not your jam, that's okay. We have all these other options. Now, number six, and this is probably not one that you would ever in a million years think of as connected with this, but it is so incredibly powerful and helpful and important. If you are a person who is surrounded by things, and I know not all of us are for various different reasons, but if you are a person who is surrounded by things, if you are a person who is digitally surrounded by things, you follow a lot of people on social media, you're in a lot of groups on Facebook, you have a lot of things in your house, decluttering is an excellent way of reconnecting with or connecting with your authentic self. Understanding why you have all of these things, Identifying which things are most meaningful and important to you and why can make a huge difference in your whole entire self discovery process. And I don't mean that you need to live minimalistically. I mean, really evaluating, why do I have that? What does that mean to me? What does it mean to me that I have all these things that don't mean anything to me? What does it mean to me that I follow all these people who do these similar things? What does it mean to me that my feed on Instagram makes me feel horrible about myself, but I can't stop going on Instagram, right? What does that mean? What am I telling myself? What am I blocking? What am I not aware of? Because sometimes when we find out things like, for example, in this process, one of the things I found out is that I was in a shame cycle and that shame cycle was comfortable for me. And so I couldn't step into my authenticity because, and by the way, also didn't have to because I was very afraid to, because instead I was reinforcing a shame cycle. And that shame cycle connected to when I was young and I presented authentically, I was shamed. I was shamed for it. I was dissuaded from it. I was bullied because of it. I was different, and that was a problem. And so rather than showing up authentically, it was easier for me to perpetuate the shame cycle. So I kept following people on social media and getting into groups on social media that in some way made me feel more ashamed, right? No one has ever had more fitness, diet, self help, cleaning people in their social media than I did at this time. And decluttering that, removing that, and adding in things that helped me to feel connected and not so weird or different, that helped me to identify myself where I could look at that person on Instagram and think, hey, we're a lot alike. I'm not the only one. Really, really helped me to understand who I am and what matters most to me. And number 7, this has been by far the most powerful one in my life and probably is for you too. And I am sure that there is some science somewhere behind this, but I haven't done the digging. I will be honest, is music. Listening to music has a way of reconnecting me to myself like nothing else does. If I have had to spend a lot of time peopling, a lot of time presenting, in a space where I am feeling like, you know what? It's not 100% safe for me to show up 100% authentically. Because listen, that's real in all of our lives, whether it's your family, whether it is your work life, for example, like you just can't let all of that wild show up at work, right? When I get back in my car, when I get home, when I come up from it, being able to listen to music that connects me to me, where I feel it in my heart, right? Oh, this is so me. It makes such a huge difference. Now, I want to tell you a couple things about the music because I think that this is really important. Be very careful about that music. Because again, if you are in a shame cycle, if you are addicted to your own stress and you are putting music on that playlist that makes you feel connected to places in your life that were painful or hard for you, if you have music on that playlist that has lyrics that you sing along that are negative self talk, all right, it's really important for you to be mindful of that because we want to make sure that that music is connecting and resonating with us, but also uplifting, also connecting us to the things that feel good, that remind us who we are in a very positive way. That matters. That matters. I highly recommend that you create a playlist for yourself. And listen, it's okay if you only have 2 songs on the playlist. It's totally fine. It's okay if you know that one song always brings you back. It's okay. Just put that one song on a playlist. And I want you to know that one of the things I did when I was coming up with this playlist is I crowdsourced it. I actually went into social media channels and I said, what songs are on your playlist? What songs are on your That Song Takes Me Back playlist? What songs are on your happy playlist, your joyful? What songs are there? And people started to suggest, they started to tell me their songs. And some of those songs, I was like, wow, that song really resonates for me too. If we have not been engaging in or listening to that music, if we have been stepping outside of our authentic selves, we might have a hard time just thinking of the songs. But when other people start suggesting songs, we will find that, oh my gosh, that one strikes a chord. That one is really big for me. I also generally, I have Spotify. So if I'm watching a TV show or I'm watching a movie and I hear a song that just hits in the soul, I will add it to that playlist because it hits in the soul, because it resonates with me, right? Because it's part of who I authentically am. Now, as we go forward, I'm going to be talking a lot about being authentic in your real life and how that affects your relationships and how to determine where you can show up authentically and where you might need to be a little bit more cautious. We're going to talk a lot about how to live authentically without necessarily having to be vulnerable to the whole world, okay? Because for a lot of us, we feel this division or this infight internally about, well, am I still living authentically if when I show up to my in-laws, I change my behavior or I alter my behavior in some way? And so we're going to talk about how to make that all fit, because the reality is when you're out in the world, it's going to matter to also be able to protect yourself, to be safe with your authentic self, right? Not everyone deserves to see every part of your authentic self. That's just a reality. All right, so do not forget to subscribe so that you don't miss a thing about reconnecting with your authentic self, living authentically, showing up in relationships authentically, and my very next video, which will be all about journaling. Powerful, powerful journaling for the purpose of reconnecting with yourself and personal growth. All right, I will see you next time. Until then, please remember that you are absolutely amazing and you deserve to live the life you've been dreaming about. Bye, everyone.